आज हम सब यूपीएससी मेंस 2021 प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस पेपर्स के डिटेल्ड सॉल्यूशन देखेंगे। आखिर आपको एग्जाम में किस प्रकार से लिखना चाहिए ताकि आपको हर एक जीएस पेपर में 100 प्लस मार्क्स इजीली आ जाए। बाय द वे, हमने सारे जीएस पेपर 1 से लेकर के 4 तक का डिटेल आंसर बताया है, हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश दोनों मीडियम के लिए। हर एक क्वेश्चन को टू द पॉइंट बताने का कोशिश किया गया है। आखिर एग्जैक्टली आपको एग्जाम में किस प्रकार से लिखना चाहिए। यदि इस तरीके से आप लिखते हैं तो अवश्य आपको बेहतरीन मार्क्स आएंगे। इस वीडियो में हम सब जनरल स्टडी पेपर 4 इंग्लिश मीडियम के लिए बनाए हैं। यदि आपको हिंदी मीडियम के लिए डिटेल आंसर चाहिए तो आप वीडियो का लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में या कमेंट बॉक्स में देख सकते हैं, जिसमें हमने चारों जीएस पेपर इंग्लिश और हिंदी दोनों के लिए सेपरेट वीडियोस बनाए हुए हैं। यह सारा पेपर यूपीएससी के एक्सपर्ट के द्वारा सॉल्व किए गए हैं। ज्यादा समय ना गवाते हुए अब हम सब डिटेल एक्सप्लेनेशन देखते हैं जीएस पेपर 4 यूपीएससी 2021 फॉर इंग्लिश मीडियम। लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड। बाय द वे, यदि आपको 1979 से लेकर के 2021 तक के मेंस के चारों जीएस के डिटेल्ड सॉल्यूशंस चाहिए तो आप यह बुक अवश्य डाउनलोड कर ले। यह बुक दोनों मीडियम में अवेलेबल है, इंग्लिश एवं हिंदी। इस बुक में टू द पॉइंट सॉल्यूशंस बताने का कोशिश किया गया है और जो इसमें सॉल्यूशन बताए गए हैं वो यूपीएससी के वर्ड लिमिट के अनुसार बनाए गए हैं। बेहद डिटेल में सॉल्व किया गया है। जिस प्रकार यूपीएससी को आंसर का डिमांड है उसी प्रकार का आंसर इस बुक में प्रस्तुत किया गया है। एंड बाय द वे, यह बुक एक्सआईएएस और रिनाउंड डीयू प्रोफेसर के मार्गदर्शन में बनाया गया है। आशा करते हैं आप इस बुक को डाउनलोड करेंगे। लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन या कमेंट बॉक्स में आपको मिल जाएंगे। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 को देखते हैं। 1. E. Identify 5 ethical traits on which one can plot the performance of a civil servant. Justify their inclusion in the matrix. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Ethics are subjective standard of rights and wrong. For a civil servant, acting ethically is of utmost importance. A matrix of ethical traits can be helpful in performance evaluation of civil servants as discussed below. Ethical trait 1. Integrity. Reason for inclusion. Integrity is important for elimination of corruption, best utilization of public resources, pursuit of professional excellence, leadership quality to act as a role model for others. 2. Selflessness. Reason for inclusion. Helps in resolving conflicts of interest, countering nepotism and cronyism, preventing misuse of entrusted public resources and authority. 3. Compassion. Reason for inclusion. Brings empathy towards weaker section, self-motivation to work for weak, outcome and effectiveness orientation, an element of emotional intelligence. 4. Objectivity. Reason for inclusion. Makes a civil servant impartial and non-partisanship, decisions based on merit without personal bias, fairness in action, efficiency orientation, tolerance towards opposing views. 5. Accountability. Reason for inclusion. Makes civil servants answerable for their conduct and decision, makes administration transparent and public-oriented, build public trust, deter unethical conduct. These 5 ethical traits form the ethical foundation of a civil servant, and other values like non-partisanship, tolerance, responsiveness can emanate from them. These traits ensure that a civil servant fulfills his professional obligation even in adverse situations. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 बी को देखते हैं। 1. B. Identify 10 essential values that are needed to be an effective public servant. Describe the ways and means to prevent non-ethical behavior in the public servants. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। The essential values needed to be an effective public servant are 1. Integrity, consistency in value system, thoughts and conduct. 2. Objectivity, impartial decision making. 3. Leadership, ability to lead subordinate towards desired goal. 4. Openness, being transparent and open to scrutiny. 5. Responsiveness, addressing the demands of public. 6. Empathy, feeling and acting towards elevating pain of public. 7. Selflessness, action should not be self-oriented, rather other-oriented. 8. Honesty, being fair, trustworthy and sincere. 9. Accountability, assuming responsibility and answerability for actions. 10. Courage, ability to do what is required even if the odds are against. Ways and means to prevent non-ethical behavior in public servants are as follows. 1. Effective laws, rules and regulations that unambiguously define do's and don'ts along with a mechanism for quick action for unethical conduct. 2. Cutting down on discretionary power and minimizing direct contact between citizen, customer and service provider to reduce rent-seeking opportunities. 3. Effective use of transparency and accountability tools like RTI, social audits, e-governance etc. Providing adequate protection to whistleblowers is also necessary. 4. Better personnel management, selection of candidates with high ethical competence and awakened conscience, promotions based on performance and periodic training. 5. Proper rewards and punishment mechanism in terms of performance-based bonus that encourage hard work and discourage non-ethical conduct. The union of these essential values in these reforms can make public servants more effective and public-oriented. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 2A को देखते हैं। 2E. Impact of digital technology as reliable source of input for rational decision making is a debatable issue. Critically evaluate with suitable example. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Objectivity or rationality in decision making depends upon availability, quantity and quality of data. Excessive usage of digital technology has raised questions regarding its impact on quality of decisions. Digital technologies can act as a reliable source of input for rational decision making as shown below. 1. Digital technologies have made it easier to collect and collate data and convert it into meaningful information using various algorithms. For example, different surveys like census, NFHS etc. for deciding policy intervention. 2. Digital technology can enable data sharing and monitoring in real time, helping in identifying bottlenecks and undertaking necessary reforms. For example, online dashboards for tracking status of project implementation. 3. Digital technology helps in integrating data and information spread across different departments, ministries and geographies, thus providing holistic picture of situation and help in taking objective decisions. 4. Big data analysis can predict future progression of an event like climate change, COVID-19 outbreak etc. This gives a warning for making rational decisions and course corrections. 5. Digital technology has made it easier to spread information and make people aware. For example, promotion of COVID-appropriate behavior. However, digital technologies may not act as reliable source of input for rational decision making as shown below. 1. Digital technologies may not capture all the set of data required for making rational decisions. For example, unbanked people may be left out if economic policy is based solely on digital information. 2. Digital technologies have resulted in targeted messages changing the attitude of recipient and manipulating them. For example, during election campaigns. 3. Social media has created an infodemic of unverified information creating confusions and cognitive dissonance. For example, various fake news related to COVID-19. 4. Bounded rationality, people act in accordance with their own perception of situation. So even when all information are available, people may not act rationally. 5. Digital technologies are devoid of human emotions. Peoples are represented as set of ones and zeros. Decisions based on such information can lead to mechanical rationality where principles of compassion and fairness are violated. Thus, digital technology can provide information but objectivity of decisions is also based on human values, attitudes and conscience. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 2B को देखते हैं। 2B. Besides domain knowledge, a public official needs innovativeness and creativity of a high order as well, while resolving ethical dilemmas. Discuss with suitable example. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Indian civil service is dominated by intelligent generalist officers. While performance of their official function, they often face multiple ethical dilemmas. Domain knowledge is important in resolving ethical dilemmas because 1. Civil servants with domain expertise are able to understand nuances and dynamics of particular field that helps in resolving clash between conflicting values. For example, E. Sridharan, Metro Man of India, is a civil engineer by education. 2. Government functions have evolved, becoming more specialized and sophisticated, particularly with greater role of private players in service delivery. For example, properly framing government contracts are necessary for transparency and accountability. 3. Domain expertise in civil servants helps in improving quality of decisions in service delivery, thus promoting public trust. For example, Dr. Rajendra Bharud, the collector of Nandurbar, was able to manage second wave of COVID-19 in an effective manner because of his domain knowledge. 4. System of domain expertise also promote merit, efficiency, objectivity while reducing reliance on outside expert consultation. Even in private sector, people in top management have domain expertise that help them resolve dilemmas. Tough important, domain expertise is not sufficient in all cases. Innovativeness and creativity are also required for resolving ethical dilemmas. 1. Ability to find out-of-box solution that can help in reconciling seemingly diverging values, course of actions to resolve ethical dilemmas. For example, giving benefit of government scheme to someone lacking required document, solution use of ICT to provide provisional documents. 2. Different experts may offer different suggestions, viewpoints for the same problem. A civil servant with creativity and innovation to identify right kind of data and advice for effective policy. For example, during COVID-19 management on questions of lives vs livelihood, different experts had varying opinions. 3. It is also important for solving emerging interdisciplinary problems while working under political, social and economic constraints. For example, problem of bad loan is rooted in economic slowdown, willful defaults, politics business nexus and inability of banks to assess risk. So, both domain expertise and creativity are important quality of a leader which enables him, her to resolve various ethical dilemmas. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 3A को देखते हैं। 3E. Every work has got to pass through hundreds of difficulties before succeeding. Those that persevere will see the light, sooner or later. स्वामी विवेकानंद। इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Perseverance is the ability to sustain one's efforts in face of immense difficulties. Perseverance is the key to success in matters, small and big, as discussed below. 1. Learning to walk involves falling over many times, before the first step is put forward in an upright posture. 2. Integrity in adulthood is built on years of value inculcation and winning over temptations of dishonesty, intellectual or material. For example, in school examinations, project dissertations, in personal life, etc. 3. Gautam Buddha subjected himself to the most severe austerities, intellectual queries and debates, before he could achieve enlightenment. 4. Mahatma Gandhi's experiments with truth involved lying and stealing at immature age. His approach to freedom struggle evolved in contrasting ways between Chauri Chora and Quit India movement. 5. Swami Vivekananda himself was an inquisitive young man, questioning all dogmas. His open and unsatisfied mind led him to meet his future Guru Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans, and in him he met his mission in life. Difficulties, trial and tribulations, and failure are part of the way to success. Those who persevere see the light, which those who quit cannot. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 3B को देखते हैं। 3B. We can never obtain peace in the outer world until and unless we obtain peace within ourselves. Dalai Lama। इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Peace is the lack of conflict and the condition of acceptance. Peace allows individuals and society to reap healthy benefits out of their potential. Relevance of peace within ourselves, for peace in the world. 1. Peace within is the key to good mental health, which is crucial for roles as parents and children at home, soldiers at borders, leaders in public life, employees at work etc. 2. Inner peace helps promote religious harmony, which is the antidote to communalism. 3. When people are satiated within, incidents of crimes like rapes, thefts, domestic violence, corruption etc. are likely to be lower. 4. Inner peace is linked to lack of greed, which has repercussions against inequality of wealth, status and income, rabid consumerism, climate change etc. 5. Social conflicts like naxalism, separatism etc. can be ascribed to lack of inner peace within individuals. However, peace within ourselves can also have negative repercussions. 1. It can lead to supine morality and unaware citizenry. For example, attitude of indifference towards gender issues, sanitation etc. 2. Peace within can be a barrier to intellectual growth. For example, acceptance of religious dogmas can undermine scientific explorations. Inner peace is the building block of peace in the world. But desire for peace must avoid the hazard of surrender to dogmas and conflicts. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 3C को देखते हैं। 3C. Life doesn't make any sense without interdependence. We need each other, and the sooner we learn that, it is better for us all. Erik Erikson. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Interdependence is a basic fact of the world. From ecology to astronomical bodies, family to nations, we live in an interdependent world. Importance of interdependence. 1. Values. Family, schools, friends, community shape value inculcation in individuals and weave society's moral fabric. 2. Climate action. Common but differentiated responsibilities are due for effective action against climate change and environmental damage. 3. Democracy. System of institutional checks and balances, distribution of powers between judiciary, executive and legislature, or through federalism are necessary to sustain democracy. 4. Emotional well-being. Understanding the emotional needs of self and others. Being understood emotionally is a manifestation of interdependent reflection. 5. Scientific developments. Dependence on shoulders of intellectual giants like Newton and Madhava. Epistemology through dissertations. 6. Heritage. Intergenerational knowledge such as through tribal knowledge systems, oral traditions, literature, religion etc. Our sources of culture, history, culture, ecology and development are all interdependent. Global warming and development deficit are the most instructive example of interdependence in modern world. To meet our individual needs, we need to take care of surrounding society and nature. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 4A को देखते हैं। 4E. Attitude is an important component that goes as input in the development of human being. How to build a suitable attitude needed for a public servant? इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Civil servants are the face of the government. A positive attitude is considered to be an essential characteristic of a civil servant who is required to function under extreme stress. Suitable attitude needed for a public servant can be built through 1. Practicing compassion. As a public servant needs to work for the welfare of the masses, compassion can help build a suitable attitude. 2. Examples of great leaders. Public servants often find themselves in position of ethical, moral dilemmas. In such scenarios, life examples from great leaders, such as Gandhi, Sardar Patel, Nehru etc., can help in building positive attitude. 3. Problem-solving approach. Learning problem-solving approach will help create suitable attitude for public servants as they are required to adopt innovative ways to solve problems. 4. Following just actions. As public servants are required to be just and non-partisan in exercise of their duties. 5. Imbibing moral values. As public servant is expected to have high integrity, honesty and is expected to act in a responsible and transparent manner. Imbibing moral values in one's life can help build suitable attitude for a public servant. 6. Inculcating patriotism. As public servants are supposed to uphold national interest, imbibing patriotic values can create desirable attitude. A human being at large is defined by his/her attitude towards life. A public servant, who has the responsibility of the governance of the nation, need to develop positive attitude in order to serve the country to the best of his/her ability. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 4B को देखते हैं। 4B. In case of crisis of conscience, does emotional intelligence help to overcome the same without compromising the ethical or moral stand that you are likely to follow? Critically examine. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Conscience is an inner voice that helps in deciding what is ethical or moral. Crisis of conscience, COC, is a situation of confusion where either a person is doing something that goes against his, her conscience or voice of conscience is not able to decide what is ethically or morally correct, value conflict. For example, Arjun faced crisis of conscience in the beginning of Mahabharata. Emotional intelligence is the ability to regulate emotions of oneself and others while also using emotions to make better decisions. Crisis of conscience is an undesirable psychological state and emotional intelligence can help in overcoming it without compromising ethical, moral standards as 1. Emotional intelligence helps in better understanding of the situation and long-term consequences of one's action, dispel ethical myopia, making it easier to explore desirability and ethicality of any action. For example, whistleblowing. 2. It can help in reconciling apparently divergent values which may be causing the crisis of conscience. For example, A can blend objectivity of law with subjectivity of emotions leading to compassionate justice. 3. Emotional intelligence gives internal strength to individuals that can enable them to act with integrity and withstand adverse situations. For example, crisis of conscience is case of coerced corruption or an order from senior which goes against established ethical standards. 4. Emotionally intelligent persons are able to persuade others and resolve conflicts. For example, crisis of conflict for a DM arising due to diverging demands by different communities. 5. A helps in controlling selfish desires, resolving crisis of conscience arising in cases like public vs personal interest. Despite being important, sometimes A may not be sufficient in resolving crisis of conscience. In such cases, laws, rules, regulations and social values can act as guides to ethical conduct and help resolve COC. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं. तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं. अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 5A को देखते हैं. 5E. Refugees should not be turned back to the country where they would face persecution or human right violation. Examine the statement with reference to ethical dimension being violated by the nation claiming to be democratic with open society. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Non-refoulement is a principle that forbids a country from returning refugee to a country where they may face persecution. However, countries claiming to be democratic with open society often refuse to accept refugees and send them back, raising following ethical questions. 1. National interest vs global responsibility. Countries deny refuge citing limited resources, security threats, primary responsibility towards their citizen. However, responsibility as a member of global community is often violated. Nations justify their actions on utilitarian perspective, protecting their citizen, while neglecting deontological aspect, duty to protect, in dealing with refugees. 2. Human rights are inalienable rights to life, liberty and opportunity to realize one's potential. Turning back the refugees deny them their basic human rights. 3. Turning back those in need goes against the categorical imperative of Kant as it cannot be made into a universal principle. Some countries are accused of using migrants as a tool of foreign policy as witnessed during 2021 Belarus-European Union border crisis. This amounts to using people as means and not as end in themselves. Such actions do not pass the test of Gandhiji's talisman, action keeping in mind the interest of weakest. 4. Most of the refugees suffer without any fault of their own. They become victim of violence due to accidents of birth, being born in particular country, Syria, Afghanistan, into a persecuted community, Ahmadiyas, Rohingyas, etc. Denying them opportunity to escape violence and persecution goes against all ethical principle. 5. Historical responsibility. Western world is responsible for many refugee crises. For example, colonial exploitation and policies, Sykes-Picot Agreement, armed humanitarian intervention leading to civil wars, Middle East climate refugee etc. They should take historical responsibility for their actions. 6. Standard of ethics in society. Dehumanizing refugee and refusal to recognize their suffering set wrong example for future and lead to decline in values like care, empathy, compassion in the society. Democratic liberal countries, societies with resources and capacities should accept refugees and allow them to exercise their basic human right of life in pursuit of happiness. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 5B को देखते हैं। 5B. Should impartial and being non-partisan be considered as indispensable qualities to make a successful civil servant? Discuss with illustrations. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। While impartiality means acting without any bias, non-partisanship is a quality of being politically neutral. These two are considered as essential, foundational values for a civil servant in discharge of his/her duties because non-partisanship, 1. It entails that the civil servant will serve the government of the day faithfully without political bias. For example, a resident commissioner may have to serve under governments of differing political ideologies in center and the state. 2. Will help a civil servant to take decision without any fear, favor to any political party and based on constitutional principles. For example, during elections, non-partisanship will aid a DM/DC in discharging the duties of a row effectively. 3. It ensures an effective, professional relationship between the elected representative and the civil servants. For example, non-partisanship will enhance, maintain the credibility of a chief secretary, irrespective of the party in power. Impartiality, 1. Helps a civil servant to make decisions on objective criteria and not on biases and prejudices. For example, impartiality will help the chairman of the Finance Commission in recommending resources on objective criteria without a bias to his/her own home state. 2. It ensures an amicable and effective relationship between civil servant and the society, citizens. For example, an impartial SDM/DSP will command respect of the people, and thus will gain their cooperation in various conflict management situations. 3. It helps build an equal attitude towards everything and everyone. For example, impartiality will aid a DM/DC in implementing benefits under PMMVY without a bias of caste or religion. Impartiality and non-partisanship are considered as the essential qualities in a civil servant. These are necessary because civil servants are expected, mandated to act as per law, constitution in a politically neutral manner, without any bias or prejudice. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 6A को देखते हैं। 6E. An independent and empowered social audit mechanism is an absolute must in every sphere of public service, including judiciary, to ensure performance, accountability and ethical conduct. Elaborate. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Social audit (SA) is an exercise of evaluation of performance of public services conducted jointly by service provider and public, especially the beneficiaries. MGNREGA was the first act to make SA by Gram Sabha mandatory. Further, most states have set up social audit units, (SAW), to facilitate SA of programs like PMAY, MDM, etc. Meghalaya has even provided legal backing to SA. Social audit is must to ensure performance, accountability and ethical conduct because, 1. Social audit goes beyond financial audit of official records to assessing the impact of public services in improving the quality of life of beneficiaries. This helps in improving performance of various public services. 2. It makes governance participatory and empowers beneficiary by giving them power to seek answers from authority, Jinsan way. 3. It makes system more transparent and improve record-keeping practices in public offices. Jinsan Y plus transparency to accountability. 4. It removes the accessibility gap and helps in building trust between public and administration. 5. Contempt provision of judiciary has restricted even constructive criticism and legislature cannot discuss judicial conduct. Social audit can help in improving justice delivery system by creating a feedback mechanism for judiciary and assisting in judicial process re-engineering. 6. Service delivery agency becomes more aware of the expectations of public and public becomes aware of genuine administrative constraints. SA can provide insights that can help in reconciling objectivity of procedures with subjectivity of public opinions. However, SA has not achieved its objectives due to lack of awareness, deficit in political and administrative will among other limitations. A national law mandating SAR for public services can be a step forward. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 6B को देखते हैं। 6B. Integrity is a value that empowers the human being. Justify with suitable illustration. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Integrity in an individual indicates soundness of moral principles, the character of uncorrupted virtues, uprightness, honesty and sincerity. A person with integrity gets empowered through her strong character, built by consistently following ethical and moral principles. 1. High standards of professional integrity. Professional integrity exhorts one to work in an open, transparent and responsible way, thus empowering them professionally. For example, Lal Bahadur Shastri resigned as a railway minister, taking responsibility for a train accident. His integrity was instrumental in his becoming the second PM of India. 2. Integrity in public life. T.N. Sheshan, 10th Chief Election Commissioner of India, was chastised by crony media and corrupt politicians for his reforms in electoral practices. However, his integrity helped him to establish him as an icon of transparency and efficiency. 3. Integrity in leadership. Mahatma Gandhi revoked the non-cooperation movement after the Chauri Chora incident. He had to face severe criticism from his followers. However, his integral approach was instrumental in building of a non-violent freedom struggle. 4. Integrity in sports. Sachin Tendulkar, playing a cricket match, decided to walk off the ground after the appeal by the bowler, even though he was declared as not out by the umpire. Although he could not make his 100, his integrity established him as an honorable sportsman, respected worldwide. Integrity helps an individual to resolve the conflict between one's desires on one hand and one's values, beliefs, principles on the other hand. It might appear as self-defeating momentarily, but it empowers the human being in the longer run. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 7 को देखते हैं। Q7. Sunil is a young civil servant and has a reputation for his competence, integrity, dedication and relentless pursuit of difficult and onerous jobs. Considering his profile, he was picked up by his bosses to handle a very challenging and sensitive assignment. He was posted in a tribal-dominated district notorious for illegal sand mining. Excavating sand from river belt and transporting through trucks and selling them in black market was rampant. This illegal sand mining mafia was operating with the support of local functionaries and tribal musclemen who in turn were bribing selected poor tribals and had kept the tribals under fear and intimidation. Sunil, being a sharp and energetic officer, immediately grasped the ground realities and the modus operandi followed by the mafia through their devious and dubious mechanism. On making inquiries, he gathered that some of their own office employees are in hand and glove with them and have developed close unholy nexus. Sunil initiated stringent action against them and started conducting raids on their illegal operations of movement of trucks filled with sand. The mafia got rattled as not many officers in the past had taken such strong steps against the mafia. Not many officers in the employees who were allegedly close to mafia informed them that the office employees who were allegedly close to officer is determined to clean up the mafia's illegal district and may cause them irreparable damage. The mafia turned hostile and launched counter-offensive. The tribal musclemen and mafia started threatening him with dire consequences. His family, wife and mother, were stalked and were under virtual surveillance and thus causing mental torture, agony and stress to all of them. The matter assumed serious proportions when a muscleman came to his office and threatened him to stop the raid, otherwise, his fate will not be different. That back one officer was killed by the mafia. E. Identify the different options available to Sunil in attending to this situation. B. Critically evaluate each of the options listed by you. C. Which of the above do you think would be the most appropriate for Sunil to adopt and why? इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Stakeholders: Sunil, a competent civil servant with his integrity, dedication and honesty. Mafia: his family, wife and mother. Local functionaries, employees of his office, ethical issues involved. Integrity to the service vs family security, professional values vs personal values. B. Options available. 1. Stop the raids. Merit, he will able to secure the life of himself and his family. Win the confidence of mafia, local functionaries and tribal musclemen, resulting no threat to him in future, may get some illegal gratification and led a luxury life. Demerit, he compromised with his integrity to the job, lost the honesty, so lost his previous image and respect. Set a wrong precedent for his office employees, increased corruption in the whole system as he is a superior authority. Damaged hugely to river system as well as environment. 2. Continue conducting raids against mafia. Merit, he do justice with his job and the inhabitants. Prevent the damage to environment. Discourage the mafia and associated crimes like illegal sand mining. Demerit, he may lost his life or of his family, he may hot permanent injury or a fearful life, he endangers the life of his subordinates. 3. Rescue himself and seek transfer. Merit, at the same time he can save his life and family as well as his honest image in service, he can bring the issue to the higher authority. Demerit, he can flee from his job due to fear from mafia, which causes mental stigma to him for whole life. Encouragement to mafia, resulting in more environmental damages and crime in that region. Encouragement to the employees to take bribe and spoil system. See, I think Sunil should choose the second available options and continue conducting raid and save environment. By doing this he can do justice with the people of the region and with his professional integrity. And if he is able to stop mafia, then local tribal people give him support, so local functionaries were compelled to take out their support to mafia, then mafia weakens and may surrender. With doing this he get this issue into the knowledge of higher authority state government and demand extra force like CRPF, army, also extra security for him and his family. Government will provide security and support, then he go ahead to end the whole crime and expose local functionaries to the public who are involved in crime. So as he set a right precedent and encouragement for all officers in the country to be moral and not to succumb against crime, and also discourage such disloyal employees. If he do so, he realize the true spirit and respect to his duty. Similarly, like Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman, who were caught by hostile enemies in their nation but not succumb to their torture and injuries and make the nation proud on such soldiers. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 को देखते हैं। Q8. You are vice principal of a degree college in one of the middle class towns. Principal has recently retired and management is looking for his replacement. There are also feelers that the management may promote you as principal. In the meantime, during annual examination, the flying squad which came from the university caught 2 students red-handed involving in unfair means. A senior lecturer of the college was personally helping these students in this act. This senior lecturer also happens to be close to the management. One of the students was son of a local politician who was responsible in getting college affiliated to the present reputed university. The second student was son of a local businessman who has donated maximum funds for running of the college. You immediately informed the management regarding this unfortunate incident. The management told you to resolve the issue with flying squad at any cost. They further said that such incident will not only tarnish the image of the college but also the politician and businessman are very important personalities for the functioning of the college. You were also given hint that your further promotion to principal depends on your capability in resolving this issue with flying squad. In the meantime, you were intimated by your administrative officer that certain members of the student union are protesting outside the college gate against the senior lecturer and the students involved in this incident and demanding strict action against defaulters. E. Discuss the ethical issues involved in the case. B. Critically examine the options available with you as vice principal. What option will you adopt and why? इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Stakeholders, you as vice principal. College management may promote you as principal. Senior lecturer helping in cheating. Students protesting outside the college. Flying squad. Ethical issues involved. Professional duty vs personal gains. Order of management and image of college vs justice to other honest students. Fund and affiliation for college vs voice of protesting students. Options available. Follow the order of management and make settlement by hiding true facts to the flying squad. Show your incapability to the management that you cannot deal with flying squad. Refuse the management to support an illegal act and tell the truth to flying squad. I, as a vice principal, will choose the third option, which has following merit and demerits. Merits: I succeeding in my professional integrity. I set a right precedent for both students and senior lecturer and the management. Flying squad reported that all other staff of college are honest except senior lecturer. Student learns a lesson to be truthful with study and life as well. Do justice with large section of students including who are protesting outside college. Demerits: I may not be promoted as principal. Image and reputation of college may be tarnished, funding may be stopped and affiliation may also. Local political and businessman may also hurt me in every walk of life. Justification for third option. As a vice principal, I decided to choose the third optional so as I maintain my professional integrity, which may hamper my present personal gains, but definitely in future it will gives me sense of confidence and job satisfaction. By doing this, I convey the management that image of college would not be tarnished but a right precedent set in college, and to support such senior lecturer will more degraded the college in future. I also convey that supporting such dishonest student will definitely tarnish image of college in future and also become undesired for society and the nation at large in future. I would request the flying squad not to take such a strict action which destroy the future of student, but a light punishment may be given that their career prospects not spoiled and also they get lesson. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 को देखते हैं। Q9. An elevated corridor is being constructed to reduce traffic congestion in the capital of a particular state. You have been selected as project manager of this prestigious project on your professional competence and experience. The deadline is to complete the project in next 2 years by the 30th of June 2021. Since this project is to be inaugurated by the Chief Minister before the elections are announced in the second week of July 2021. While carrying out the surprise inspection by inspecting team, a minor crack was noticed in one of the piers of the elevated corridor, possibly due to poor material used. You immediately informed the chief engineer and stopped further work. It was assessed by you that minimum 3 piers of the elevated corridor have to be demolished and reconstructed. But this process will delay the project minimum by 4 to 6 months. But the chief engineer overruled the observation of inspecting team on the ground that it was a minor crack which will not in any way impact the strength and durability of the bridge. He ordered you to overlook the observation of inspecting team and continue working with same speed and tempo. He informed you that the minister does not want any delay as he wants the chief minister to inaugurate the elevated corridor before the elections are declared. Also informed you that the contractor is far relative of the minister and he wants him to finish the project. He also gave you hint that your further promotion as additional chief engineer is under consideration with the ministry. However, you strongly felt that the minor crack in the pier of the elevated corridor will adversely affect the health and life of the bridge, and therefore it will be very dangerous not to repair the elevated corridor. E. Under the given conditions, what are the options available to you as a project manager? B. What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by the project manager? C. What are the professional challenges likely to be faced by the project manager in his response to overcome such challenges? D. What can be the consequences of overlooking the observation raised by the inspecting team? इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। Stakeholders, project manager, chief engineers, chief minister and other leaders of his party, citizens of that constituency. A. Under the given conditions, what are the options available to you as a project manager? In this situation, chief minister and his party is in a haste to complete the project for their own political benefits. This move may adversely affect the citizens of that constituency if any catastrophic accident will take place in future. Citizens' life cannot be put in danger for anyone's political advantage. Project manager must make efforts to stop the further construction before solving the minor crack. Options available with project manager: persuade the chief engineer to stop the project by understanding him the gravity of the situation. Directly communicate with the chief minister that further green signal to this project can put citizens' lives at stake. Project manager should persuade him that any future accident can put his political career in danger. If persuasion is not working, project manager must convey this situation to civil society, media or opposition leaders to put more pressure on the government to resolve the technical glitch in the construction. However, in this case project manager's job and personal safety is at stake. But in any case, he has to show courage and integrity. B. What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by the project manager? In this condition, project manager is up against multiple ethical dilemmas: professional gain vs public interest, lives of citizens. If project's manager agrees with chief engineer and chief minister and go ahead with the project, he may be promoted up the ladder. But apparently that is unethical and immoral. Even though the crack is very minor, there should be absolutely no scope of doubt in such projects where larger public interest is involved. Here the main ethical conflict is his professional gains vs his conscience. His job vs his integrity. In this scenario, if he chose to take a stand against the government, there are utmost chances that he will lose his job. Also, politicians can pay vendetta card against him. So there is a threat to his personal life as well. On the other hand, his integrity will push him to stop further work in the project. See professional challenges faced by the project manager and his response to overcome such challenges. On one hand, if he put aside his ethical values and go ahead with the project, he may gain benefits from his patronage. That would be fruitful for his professional life. But in that case, he will always be in guilt if any accident occurs in that construction. In that case, he will also be part of the crime. As mentioned above, he may be suspended from his job if he takes any divergent view on this issue, since top political class is involved in the issue. That is the biggest professional challenge against him. His responses, most appropriate response should be to stay upright and show resentment against government's decision, even though he has to put his job at stake. Second, he must take support from other influential people from the same political party or opposition parties, civil society and other pressure groups. D. What can be the consequences of overlooking the observation raised by the inspecting team? Collapse of the elevated corridor can be the worst consequence of this minor negligence, which may cause large-scale causalities. Construction without proper planning may also lead to the situation like stampede. These type of construction can be very fragile in case of any natural calamities like heavy rain, earthquake etc. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 10 को देखते हैं। Q10. The coronavirus disease, COVID-19, pandemic has quickly spread to various countries. As on May 8, 2020, in India 56,342 positive cases of corona had been reported. India, with a population of more than 1.35 billion, had difficulty in controlling the transmission of coronavirus among its population. Multiple strategies became necessary to handle this outbreak. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of India raised awareness about this outbreak and to take all necessary actions to control the spread of COVID-19. Indian government implemented a 55-day lockdown throughout the country to reduce the transmission of the virus. Schools and colleges had shifted to alternative mode of teaching, learning, evaluation and certification. Online mode became popular during these days. India was not prepared for a sudden onslaught of such a crisis due to limited infrastructure in terms of human resource, money and other facilities needed for taking care of this situation. This disease did not spare anybody irrespective of caste, creed, religion on the one hand and have not on the other. Deficiencies in hospital beds, oxygen cylinders, ambulances, hospital staff and crematorium were the most crucial aspects. You are a hospital administrator in a public hospital at the time when coronavirus had attacked large number of people and patients were pouring into hospital day in and day out. E. What are your criteria and justification for putting your clinical and non-clinical staff to attend to the patients knowing fully well that it is highly infectious disease and resources and infrastructure are limited? B. If yours is a private hospital, whether your justification and decision would remain same as that of a public hospital? इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं। आंसर: COVID-19 pandemic has adversely affected all section of the society. Health infrastructure around the world was under immense pressure due to the extremely contagious nature of the virus. Doctors and nurses are the first line of defense. Frontline workers' lives are the most vulnerable due to direct and frequent contact with the COVID patients. According to IMA, 798 doctors lost their lives during the second wave of COVID-19 in India. Despite all the associated risks, doctors and other medical staffs adhered to their medical ethics and saved lives of millions of patients. On frontline workers' part, it was culmination work ethic, integrity, feeling of compassion and empathy and emotional intelligence which made them achieve what they did during 2 waves of COVID-19 in India. If I am the administrator of the hospital, I would have following criteria and justifications for putting my clinical and non-clinical staff to attend the patient. 1. First and foremost, I would set strong protocols, under which no one would be allowed to work within the hospital premise without wearing mask and face shield. 2. Utmost emphasis must be given to the safety of the clinical and non-clinical staff, especially those who are directly dealing with the COVID-positive patients. 3. Pay kit must be compulsory for all the clinical and non-clinical staff of the hospital. 4. Within the protocol, adequate emphasis must be given to frequent sanitization of the hospital premise. 5. Under the protocol, free medical aid will be provided to any clinical or non-clinical staff and any of their family members who gets infected by the virus. As hospital administration, it is my moral responsibility to ensure their good health. 6. If it is a public hospital, I would urge the state government to provide social security to the workers of the hospital. At the same time, I would make a proposal to give incentives to the frontline workers of my hospital. 7. If any clinical or non-clinical staff's demise occurs, whole cost of their children's education must be bare by the hospital management. Also, demise family must be given decent monetary amount for their further survival. 8. Strict penal action will be taken against any of the family member of patients who humiliate or hurt the dignity of the hospital staff, including both clinical and non-clinical. 9. Under the protocol, paid leave must be provided to staff who have other ailments like high blood pressure, diabetes etc., since they are more vulnerable to the virus. 10. Provided with all the above guidelines and rules, I will make sure that all the staff is discharging their duties in an efficient manner by adhering to their medical ethics and protocols. B. Private hospital. During the pandemic, we have seen many private hospitals adopting unethical means by taking advantage of the situation of patient's medical condition and charging huge amount of money from the patient's family. This is certainly against medical ethics. Also, at the times of medical emergency, this is inhumane to engage in such practices. If I am the administrator of private hospital, I will comply all the above protocols. At the same time, I will ensure that the hospital is not engaged in the unethical practices by charging more money. At the same time, I will ensure that hospital is not engaging in biased practices by giving preferences to VIPs and influential people over the actual needy patients. In simple language, I will try to bring the culture of transparency in the private hospital. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 11 को देखते हैं। Q11. A reputed food product company based in India developed a food product for the international market and started exporting the same after getting necessary approvals. The company announced this achievement and also indicated that soon the product will be made available for the domestic consumers with almost same quality and health benefits. Accordingly, the company got its product approved by the domestic competent authority and launched the product in Indian market. The company could increase its market share over a period of time and earn substantial profit both domestically and internationally. However, the random sample test conducted by inspecting team found the product being sold domestically in variance with the approval obtained from the competent authority. On further investigation, it was also discovered that the food company was not only selling products which were not meeting the health standard of the country but also selling the rejected export products in the domestic market. This episode adversely affected the reputation and profitability of the food company. What action do you visualize should be taken by the competent authority against the food company for violating the laid down domestic food standard and selling rejected export products in domestic market? B. What course of action is available with the food company to resolve the crisis and bring back its lost reputation? C. Examine the ethical dilemma involved in the case. इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Answer. The given case study presents a contest between public interest and profitability in corporate governance and highlights the problem of lack of ethics in private institutions. Following actions can be taken against the company by competent authorities. 1. Recall and destroy. As the products under question are eatable, they pose danger to public health. Company should be instructed to recall products from the market and destroy them under supervision of authorities. 2. Monetary fine. A substantial monetary fine should be imposed to emphasize cost of ignoring public interest in pursuit of short-term business profitability. 3. Criminal proceedings against top officials should be based on graded response as per consequential impact on public health, such as carcinogenic or genetic impact, effect on children etc. 4. Cancel the approval to sell domestically as well as for export till review and reapproval. This will help protect against loss of reputation for the country as a source, and promote respect for prescribed regulations. B. The company can take following course of action to resolve the crisis and regain its reputation. 1. Public apology should express genuine regret for wrong conduct. 2. Internal audit and inquiry should be pursued to fix responsibility for the decisions that led to the crisis. 3. Review company's values and process of value inculcation among employees, middle management and top leadership. Changes in leadership may be needed. 4. Changes in quality control governance with direct line of communication between top leadership and factory floor can put quality norms on a pedestal. 5. Communication of the internal emphasis on quality and health over short-term profits should reflect in benchmarking as per national and international best practices like Six Sigma. C. The ethical dilemmas in the case are as follows. 1. Public health versus private profit. Corporates have interests of private profits, but they also have responsibility towards society. Commerce without morality is one of the 7 Gandhian sins. 2. Kantian right versus national interest. Taking strict action if found rightful, such as criminal proceedings, can affect investments, create sensationalism and undermine reputation of India as source of food products based exports. 3. Common good versus business interest. Narrow focus on business interest has threatened common good from public health and exports. 4. Varying compliance with standards for exports and domestic market reflects lack of respect for domestic regulation and possibility of racial prejudices within company. The pursuit of value and not profits must guide the conduct of corporates. Trust and customer loyalty are enviable values that a company can only build on foundation of ethical governance. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं। तो हम सब आगे बढ़ते हैं। अब हम सब क्वेश्चन नंबर 12 को देखते हैं। Q12. Pawan is working as an officer in the state government for the last 10 years. As a part of routine transfer, he was posted to another department. He joined in a new office along with 5 other colleagues. The head of the office was a senior officer conversant with the functioning of the office. As a part of general inquiry, Pawan gathered that his senior officer carries the reputation of being difficult and insensitive person having his own disturbed family life. Initially, all seemed to go well. However, after some time Pawan felt that the senior officer was belittling him and at times unreasonable. Whatever suggestions given or views expressed by Pawan in the meetings were summarily rejected and the senior officer would express displeasure in the presence of others. It became a pattern of boss's style of functioning to show him in bad light, highlighting his shortcomings and humiliating publicly. It became apparent that though there are no serious work-related problems, shortcomings, the senior officer was always on one pretext or the other and would scold and shout at him. The continuous harassment and public criticism of Pawan resulted in loss of confidence, self-esteem and equanimity. Pawan realized that his relations with his senior officer are becoming more toxic, and due to this, he felt perpetually tensed, anxious and stressed. His mind was occupied with negativity and caused him mental torture, anguish and agony. Eventually, it badly affected his personal and family life. He was no longer joyous, happy and contented even at home. Rather, without any reason he would lose his temper with his wife and other family members. The family environment was no longer pleasant and other family members. The family environment was no longer pleasant and him in the office, comfort and happiness. A. What are the options available with Pawan to cope up with the situation? B. What approach Pawan should adopt for bringing peace, tranquility and congenial environment in the office and home? C. As an outsider, what are your suggestions for both boss and subordinate to overcome this situation and for improving the work performance, mental and emotional hygiene? D. In the above scenario, what type of training would you suggest for officers at various levels in the government offices? इस क्वेश्चन का आप आंसर कुछ इस प्रकार से लिख सकते हैं. Answer. Stakeholders: Pawan, his boss, other colleagues in office, Pawan's family, other state government officials. Good working conditions is an essential right of employers in both public and private sector. Harassment and mental torture at the workplace is not only illegal but also highly unethical practice. It directly impacts the human dignity. For the holistic development of all the individual's good physical, mental, emotional and psychological health is imperative. In the given scenario, Pawan is working under immense toxic environment, which is impacting his own emotional health and its relations with his family. His boss's behaviors are also undermining the self-respect and morale of Pawan. This is apparently not a work environment, where Pawan can nurture both his personal and professional life. Options available with Pawan: since Pawan is working under the state government, he should file a complaint against his senior officer for his extremely unprofessional and toxic behavior at the workplace. He can also adopt the judicial path. If his grievances are not properly addressed, he can also seek for transfer to another office, since this work environment is intolerant for him and now it is also impacting his relations with his wife. He can form a consensus with other colleagues, employees if they have faced or facing the similar humiliation. Collective voice can be effective in these kind of scenarios. If he is only behaving like this, if Pawan, he should file a discrimination case against the senior officer. He must share this emotional trauma with his family members. This will develop understanding and he will get emotional support. He should show courage and directly communicate with the senior official regarding not to behave like this in future, since self-respect is very essential for the holistic development of any individual. Pawan should develop emotional intelligence by not venting out the office anger at home. B. As mentioned above, the senior official is also having disturbed personal life, but that should not be the excuse for his emotionally unhealthy behavior at workplace. Pawan can make efforts to be cordial with his senior for some time, but if the same thing is not reciprocating, he should adopt other means. Emotional intelligence is very important for a balanced life and holistic development of any individual. Pawan should learn this by practicing tools like yoga and meditation. This will make his personal, professional life in harmony. Interaction and discussion with family is very important for emotional health. Pawan must discuss his situation with his wife. This will give him moral and emotional support. At the same time, family will give him valuable insight regarding any future course of action. C. As an outsider, my take is that an intervention by any higher authority is need of an hour in the given situation. Also, a transparent committee must be set up to oversight and investigate the whole situation. If the committee finds senior official guilty after an unbiased investigation, strict action must be taken against him to set a right example of professionalism. If required, Pawan must be sent to counseling center. At the same time, senior officials should also be sent to counseling center if he is facing any emotional or psychological problems. Frequent seminars and team building activities should be carried out to maintain peace and harmony in the office. Lessons of emotional intelligence, empathy and compassion and team spirit should be taught to all employees irrespective of the hierarchy. D. Public officers are dealing with the wide range of issues every day. Also, at times they are working under extreme stress environment. In these kind of working conditions, lessons of emotional intelligence must be taught to officers at various levels of government. At the same time, they have to collectively work in a team. For that, various team building modules must be taught to them. Life learnings and ethical principles of Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Lord Buddha etc. must be taught to them. Social interaction skills and persuasion skills should also be taught to them. आशा करते हैं कि आप इस क्वेश्चन को समझ चुके हैं।